I'll bring a different angle to this. You see, we do have the aspiration of having sewage or sewer lines and sewage treatment plants, but what's the reality? Because for having a sewage treatment plant or a sewer line, you need at least 100 LPCD water. Without that, there is no conveyance. Therefore, we have to again look back, and even if you have a proper conveyance, then you have to see whether the sewer lines are properly laid, because in many places there are blockages, not only because of lack of self-cleansing velocity, but also because of changes in the gradient of the sewer line. So laying of kilometers of sewer lines is not easy, requires very good planning, very good execution and control. And then once the sewer lines have been put in place and the connections made, there also you find that maybe 30-40% people, they don't want to take the connection because they have to put in some money. Then what is to be done? And finally it has to be treated. So our learned speakers have already told about the state of the sewage treatment plants. You must have all seen how the sewage treatment plants are actually functional. See, most of them stop at primary treatment. Some of them go up to the secondary treatment. Tertiary, very rare. You can just count them on one hand, fingers in one hand, right? And most of them are not functioning properly. So therefore, what I would like to say is, first of all, wherever a sewer line has been laid and a sewer treatment plant has been set up, Delhi has 17 already, let them be properly taken care of. Let's not do something else there. So the primary aim should be to properly operate and maintain them. That is not easy. See, the concession period may be for 30 years, but 5 years down the line doesn't operate. I had even seen a plant which was just built there, freshly built, not commissioned even. Why? Because there was a tiff between the concessionaire and the authority, and they had not let the plant be commissioned. The whole plant was just standing there. It's public money. You can see how much of wastage is there. So therefore, what is the other alternative? So I'd like to quickly go into that. So I'd like to talk about the decentralized aspects as well. Where is your, just a moment, where is the slideshow? Oh, it's coming there, not here. Okay. I'll be as quick as possible. These are very simple things. I have not gone into any intricate details because I know in conferences you don't get time to discuss, time to explain in detail. So I have not gone into any data, any technological things. It's only about the concepts that I'll be talking about. Now, my previous speakers have already told about the water scarcity. So the big question is, how do we face the challenge, right? Obviously, conservation of resources, rainwater harvesting, controlling pollution of water bodies caused by the indiscriminate disposal of municipal wastewater and industrial pollutants, and recycling of wastewater to the extent possible. Now, we can categorize them. These let me skip them because okay. The world of wastewater management has moved a full cycle in about 100 years. See, our wisdom has been increasing, but look here. In about 1860, the septic tank was developed. Some Mr. Moras in France. Then came the sewer lines, 1884, 85. Even in Calcutta it was there. But after about 100 years, we have started a reverse angle also. So the journey started with the ubiquitous septic tank in 1860, then the sewerage system, and then it was realized that more water and more energy was being consumed in the process. The kind of planning and executing capability required to construct hundreds of kilometers of sewer lines and maintain them for 3-4 decades is not happening in most of the developing countries. So in our high aspiration of having a sewerage system everywhere, we tend to forget the basic premises on which this is based. So when you plan, do we have minimum 100 LPCD water availability, proper plumbing, laying of sewer drains for long stretches with proper leak-proof fitting and gradient, and finally constructing an appropriate sewage treatment plant? I am saying so. These appear to be very simple things. But if you look at the sewer lines being laid at a stretch of even 500 meters, you will really understand those issues. Now, laying sewer drains as a postscript is another formidable challenge, because postscript in the sense that colonies are there. There is a development of a city. Now people want to upgrade into a sewer line. So that is why I have kind of written postscript. That is the most difficult thing, and it is here that most of the so-called gadbad happens, because it's very difficult to keep that angle, those invert levels, those gradients, and therefore there is all likelihood of problems. Then comes the issue of operation and maintenance for the sewer line as well as the STP both, because we come to know that in most of the cities chokings happen. There are large scale chokings in the sewer lines, and STPs, I have told you, I have myself seen many of the STPs. In one STP in Delhi, I was studying it for conversion of the gas into CBG, that is compressed biogas, after removing the carbon dioxide and the hydrogen sulfide. When we started to design, the authorities were not sure where we should keep that tab for designing. Initially we started with 1100 cubic meters per hour. Then we were told no, keep it at 700. Then said no, it would be better to keep it at 600. So the sewer treatment plant authorities were also not sure as to where the design tab should be. That means what? It's our planning capability, it's our execution capability, it's our maintenance capability, right? So how do you deal with the situation? Fortunately, it has been realized that reversing the trend from centralized to decentralized may have the answers. Now, at the same time, there has been a shift towards reducing energy requirement by depending more on the biological process. Countries with predominantly tropical climate have an edge over the temperate ones in this. So why not take help of that? Maybe we do have hilly areas, we have cold areas. We can design from a different angle. But for most of the places where we have a warm climate, we can use the biological system. In fact, D. Duncan Mara from the University of Dundee had written this famous book called Sewage Treatment in Hot Climates. I keep it in my almirah, It's a very important book and a very nice book. So he has shown how the warm climates can have a different angle for sewage treatment plants, for sewerage laying, for its, you want to have the name? Okay, just a minute. Yeah, quickly. Sewage treatment in hot climates. Duncan Mara from Dundee University, Scotland. It was published in 1976. Okay, let's come to our manual. Our more than 1,000-page thick manual called the Manual on Sewerage and Sewage Treatment Systems. It's 3 volumes. The total weight could be around 5 to 6 kg. Okay. Uh, Fortunately, the latest one in 2013 carries these two: decentralized sewerage system, which is in chapter 8, and on-site sanitation, chapter 9. Now this is of great significance, although it takes a long time to get percolated into government programs, as Mr. Arora had also mentioned, and into departmental tenders. See, there is no time, otherwise I would have shared a couple of very interesting stories of my own life. Anyway, you see, small bore sewer has been included in this, which is and which can be a very good alternative to having hard pipe sewers. The bends, the gradients, they can be negotiated much better with small bore sewer. You can even use some flexible pipes there. And interestingly, in this manual, even the public toilets have been described as a further decentralization within decentralized sewerage. So this is also an important thing, and this is a large shift in the government thinking, right? So we have to also have a fresh look. Now what are the options? Now septic tank, of course, all of you know, all of us know. Biogas plant can be small to large to any scale. This is almost scale neutral, I can say. Then DWATs, or decentralized wastewater treatment system. This can be a baffled septic tank with anaerobic filter, which stands out more plausible solution of DWATs. Small bore sewer can also be a linkage for this. Then soil biotechnology. This is another development from IIT Bombay. They had worked for a long time. Then stabilization ponds, etc. Each of these merits discussion of at least 1 hour. But anyway, we have to just skip and run. Okay. Now what are the land requirements? Quickly. Septic tank, 0.5 square meter per cubic meter daily flow. Baffled septic tank, anaerobic filter, 1 square meter per cubic meter daily flow. Constructed water as constructed wetland, 30 square meter per cubic meter. But here we don't need any energy, but more land, and the energy and the biological processes, they're all gifts from nature. Anaerobic ponds, 4 square meter per cubic meter daily flow. Facultative aerobic ponds, 25 square meter per cubic meter daily flow. So the essence is that availability of land and availability of water, availability of power, these are the three determinants as to what we should do with our wastewater, right? We had actually worked with biogas plant and DWATs, duckweeds, and so on. So very quickly about what we had done. This is a biogas plant linked to a public toilet complex. This is our specialized design, which is specially for public toilet linkage. Now the water here, the effluent water here, is further treated by this development on the right hand side, which we call the Sulabh effluent treatment system. With this, the effluent, which basically has a BOD of about 200, comes down to 10 or even less. But of course this is the schematic of that. I'm not holding here. Now we have some experience with DWATs. We were the first organization to get DWATs in India, right? It was back in '94. This was CTRAT, my present form. This was the earlier avatar of my academy now. Now with BORDA and BORDA, CTRAT, GERES of France, then CEEIC of China, HRIEE of China, CSR India, MDS India. Sorry, I don't have even the time to spell out the whole names. So initially we worked on this, and the initial product was called low maintenance wastewater treatment system. But since the low maintenance has a mental taboo, so we changed the name to decentralized wastewater treatment system. Now in India there is a society also, a DWAT society, and we had installed 8 numbers of DWATs facility in Delhi and NCR, and mostly they had a very simple design consisting of pre-settlers, anaerobic filters and ponds. Ponds of course were not possible everywhere because of paucity of land, and each design was especially tailored for the ground situation, and the results were quite encouraging. If you look at the last point, the BOD reduction was to the tune of 80 to 97.6% in comparison to 43.2 for a standard septic tank. Now drainage, I won't hold here. Drainage is also another important thing, which is a difficult situation, which causes a lot of difficulty in our towns, cities, especially as the rainy season comes, right? And the drains normally in the non-rainy season, they are very dirty. In many places they are punctured with the sewer line intentionally. So what I wanted to say here is, and the reason I put this slide is that the drain water, dirty drain water, can also be treated by the same process like DWATs and other technologies, as per the situation, as per the strength of the water, as per the flow of the water, and you have to also keep in view the diurnal flow, the seasonal flow and all those things. But it's very much possible to treat the drain water and to use it for irrigation. We are going to start a small project in Delhi wherein we are going to treat drain water and use it for irrigation in a park. But it has not been started yet. But anyway, it's in the planning stage. Now what is the way forward? Planning capability is the most important factor, including the financial issues. This is a part of planning capability. If I plan a thing, I shouldn't stop at the technology only. The social issues, the financial issues, they are all part of the planning issue. So planning capability is the most important factor. Planning capability for developing a sustainable plan for disposal of wastewater, followed by capability for preparing tenders. This is very, very important. Unless the capability for preparing proper tenders are there, the whole thing goes awry, nothing happens. And execution and ultimately operation and maintenance on a long-term basis, they are required. You see, whenever I do advise, I tell people that the commissioning date should not be the target. The target should be the last day of the concession period. If the concession period is 30 years, you should look at the last day of the concession period. And then you should plan your tender or whatever. Then you will succeed. And all the stakeholders must be involved, otherwise you get into so much of problem. People are becoming more and more aware, and the governments and the courts are also becoming more sensitive. So therefore, you must take all the stakeholders in your fold while planning. I think this was the last one. Thank you very much.